Ladies and gentlemen, we've looked at a lot of Bulls players over the course of the YouTube videos that I've made. Zach LaVine, Wendell Carter, Kobe White, and Larry Marketing. And of course, all of those players rightfully deserve to be talked about as the future of the Chicago Bulls. But one player that has been little to nothing being talked about that I think could be very important to the Chicago Bulls this season is Otto Porter Jr. So we're going to talk about some of the hidden gems with the Chicago Bulls, and I think he might be one of them that no one talks about, but ultimately can play a big part of the Bulls' success. So without further ado, let's do it. What's up, everybody? It's the Aiden Sports Show. Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to talk about the expectations for a player on the Bulls, and his name is Otto Porter Jr. Of course, a player that was traded pretty recently to the Chicago Bulls, has had a fair few good moments with the Bulls, but ultimately has not stood out as one of our better players. However, the potential is still there for this player. But before we get started, please like and subscribe to the Aiden Sports Show YouTube channel. Turn notifications on and let me know in the comments below what do you think and what do you expect from Otto Porter in this upcoming season. We're going to need him just as much as we need everybody else. Otto Porter, in my opinion, is the hidden gem of the Chicago Bulls that not everyone likes to talk about. And of course, there are major reasons why people don't talk about Otto Porter Jr., especially when it comes towards the financial situation. However, if you're looking at the stats for Mr. Otto Porter Jr., the player that everybody believes is a good player for the Chicago Bulls, but might not be the best. If you look at his stats, he's averaging right now, in his last season, 11.9 points per game, so 12 points per game, 3 rebounds and 1 assist. He's shooting 44% from the field, and he's shooting 38% from the 3 with a 70% field goal percentage. So obviously the efficiency of Otto Porter Jr. is still there. Again, we all know Otto Porter as a 3-and-D type player, a player that can excel at shooting the ball, stand and shoot especially, but also can play some defense. Now, when you describe Otto Porter, the way that I like to describe him is a player that is not great or excels at any one thing, but can do everything. Because Otto Porter, especially towards the last season, we saw a lot of good things from Otto Porter. He was able to finish around the ring fairly well. He was able to take mid-ranges fairly well. Able to shoot the ball very, very well. His rebounding was good. His defense was good. And overall, he seems to be just a very, very all-around good basketball player. And ultimately, the reason why I'm making this video is because people will believe that Otto Porter should get traded. And of course, there's a big statement to be made there that Otto Porter probably should get traded from the Chicago Bulls. There is no secret that he makes so much money that he's definitely not worth. However, this season alone is his last season in his major contract. I believe the player option that he accepted, he is making now $27 million this year. I believe, or around there. Again, I will put it up on the screen. He's making a lot of money. Let's just leave it at that. But with the Chicago Bulls, Otto Porter Jr. is going to be a very important player for this season, and he has been an important player in last season as well. Again, we saw a much better Chicago Bulls team when Otto Porter was in the lineup, especially at the start. And he averaged nearly 20 points per game in that sort of area during his time. And of course, at the later parts of the season when he did come back, things started to regress a bit. But with the Chicago Bulls, I think it's safe to say that Otto Porter Jr. could potentially be a Chicago Bull for quite some time. And let me give you a reason why. As I mentioned before, his expiring contract. It's a big thing. He's making a lot of money this year, but in the end, he will be a free agent next year. So one or two things can happen. Either he re-signs the Chicago Bulls on a much friendlier contract, because there is no way he's going to get the exact same money as he did with the Washington Wizards. He's not getting that much money. So either he re-signs with the Bulls on a team-friendly contract, or he goes somewhere else for, I guess, a friendly contract as well. So Otto Porter could very well see his future out with the Chicago Bulls. And that's the positive that I'd like to take. So this player, a player that is literally good at everything on the basketball court but doesn't excel at anything. A very team-oriented player. He's team-oriented. He will do anything for the team. He will play in the positions that the team asks him to do. He will defend for this team. He will rebound for this team. He will pass for this team. He is a player that, in my opinion, any team in the NBA would absolutely love. I could tell you now, the Lakers would love Otto Porter on their team. I could tell you now that the Warriors would probably love Otto Porter on their team because he just fits in a lot of team systems. He's that type of player. He's that Danny Green type player. People like to meme Danny Green, but for a lot of the time in his NBA career, he was a player that everybody just wanted on their team because he does the basics. He does the team-oriented work. He is the one that is in the set play. He's taking the corner threes. He's taking the catch and shoots. He's taking the open shots. He's doing the right things. He's passing it off when he's not open, and he's able to defend as well. He does what a lot of teams would love in the NBA to do. He's not the star player. He's not the player that's going to be the MVP for the Chicago Bulls. He's not going to be our most valuable player, but he's a player that will get the job done on both sides of the ball. So we have a big dilemma on our hand. Would you like Otto Porter Jr. to remain as a Chicago Bull after this season? Because at the moment, I can't tell you if I believe that he should be, because we still have to wait for this season to go. But there are positives and negatives, just like for anybody on this player. I've already mentioned the positives of Otto Porter Jr. He's a good basketball player all around, and he will do what is necessary for this team. He's been doing that his entire career. The negatives is his contract, of course, as mentioned before. If we can get a trade for him this year, it's probably worthwhile. Or we just let that go and we try and get him on a friendly contract in the season after this season, which could be a very big thing, because that means we've got a very good player and we're already going to improve our team some more. For example, if we get Denny for the Chicago Bulls, for example, and Otto Porter either starts or comes off of our bench, that's a great player. That is a good all-around basketball player that is coming off of our bench and making our bench better. And trust me, our bench needs a player like Otto Porter Jr. on it. So that's a big accomplishment for the Bulls if they manage to keep him for the future of his career and allow him to be that type of player that he has been for quite some time. The negative is definitely his injuries as well. Again, I believe every year that he's been with the Bulls, he's been injured for either a short period of time or a long period of time. This season, he was expected to come back late in 2019, but he ended up pushing it all the way until February. And he came back in February or late March. I believe it was sometime around then when he came back. And that is the big issue. Of course, injuries has hit our team everywhere. I think the only player that I could say that was consistently not injured throughout this entire time is Kobe White. And that's because Kobe White had his first year here. Zach LaVine has been injured for the Bulls. Larry Marketing has been injured for the Bulls. Wendell Carter's been injured for the Bulls. And Otto Porter has been injured with the Bulls. We need these players to consistently get minutes together. And I think Otto Porter just means just as much as anybody because he is a threat from the three. He will give Kobe White. He will give Zach LaVine. He will give Larry Marketing a little bit more space out there than when he's not out there. So in my opinion, leaving it to you guys once again in the comments below, would you take Otto Porter next year after this big contract is expired on a friendly deal? My answer is yes, because I do feel like there will be another team out there that will try to snag him away from us. And I don't think that it's worth giving him up, especially on an expiring contract. We can trade that expiring contract. We could definitely get something out of it. But if you're just saying, would I rather lose him in free agency? I would seriously bring him on a team-friendly contract. Again, he's not going to make that type of money that he's already on. He's going to make significantly less. He will be a player that won't stunt our salary cap once his big wages are off the books. So we're going to have enough to sign a max player if there is one available for us and wants to come to us. There's also a few stars that are not quite multi-max $1 million deals that are still going to be in this free agency class next season. That will do very good for us. So in the end, Otto Porter will not be the interrupter of that. And that's why I think he should be here, because he definitely adds something to this team that I feel like many teams will want. So what do I expect from Otto Porter next season, this season, December 22nd, all the way until hopefully we make the playoffs and probably then some? What do I expect from Otto Porter Jr.? I expect him to be exactly what he is. I expect him to be a player that is a very good offensive threat from the three, the catch and shoot, the defensive end. I expect it to be team-oriented. But the most important thing I expect is the efficiencies to stay exactly where it is, if not higher. 44% from the field is very good. And 38% from three is fantastic. That is something I would love for Otto Porter to maintain next season. But I also want to see that with more games under his belt. I want to see a full season with Otto Porter Jr. in this team. at least 70 games. I don't want to see a situation where we're going to have Wendell Carter injured for a few games, for a month or two. Then Otto Porter gets injured right as Wendell Carter comes back for a month or two. I want to see these players fit and ready to play, because I think with a fully healthy roster for the entirety of the season, we can do some damage in this Eastern Conference. This Eastern Conference is there to be got at. There are teams like the Pacers. There are teams like the Raptors. There are teams out there that we can go and take their places if we're good enough. And we have to be good enough. And I think the Chicago Bulls need to stay healthy in order to reach that potential. Again, the draft is coming up. But I wanted to make this video because Otto Porter, I feel like there could be a chance he might end up not surviving the whole season. But I just wanted to make this video because he is that hidden gem that I think the Chicago Bulls should truly value. And yes, he's on a large contract, and I feel like that's why people have a negative feeling towards him. But after that negative contract has expired, when he gets that team-friendly contract from whichever team that he gets it from, and hopefully it's the Bulls, I think that he could definitely be a fantastic player on a contending team. And if we're trying to aspire to be a contending team, I think we should keep Otto Porter for events off the bench and probably starting as well. He can do it all. He can do it all, and he can do it very well. Again, a player that is good at everything but is not great at everything. He's good at everything, but he doesn't excel at one thing. And I think with the Chicago Bulls, we need more players out there that are willing to be good at everything, that are good at everything, and that can bring something to this team that stats might say isn't necessarily great, but once you watch them, you can tell. And that's the type of player that I see Otto Porter being for the Chicago Bulls. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe if you're new. I wanted to make another Chicago Bulls video because I feel like the hype is getting real. Again, everything is about the draft, and I wanted to take a little bit of a break towards the draft because the next few days we're going to be diving headfirst into this draft. We're going to be watching the draft November 18th. We're going to be listening to the teams, what they want, what they need, what the Bulls want and what they need. Woj is going to spoil everything before it even starts. That's just how the draft goes these days. So get ready for that. But I wanted to make this video to take a little bit of a break. If you guys want me to talk about any other players on the Chicago Bulls, I want to talk about Chris Dunn before he goes in free agency or if he stays. I do want to talk about Denzel Valentine as well. And I do want to talk about Chandler Hutchinson. Those are the players that I do have in mind. But again, if you have any other suggestions for Bulls videos, again, most of them, since it's still a very small subscriber base compared to other YouTube channels, most likely if you make a suggestion, it could definitely be done. So let me know in the comments below if you want anything to be done with this YouTube channel. Have a wonderful and safe day. I'll see you in another Chicago Bulls video. Take care and peace.